that you always carry with you?
Hot sauce.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Are you getting information right now?
Hot sauce.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome. It is Tuesday yet again. I'm joined by Digger
Hi,
for
guys.
Mystery Babylon. So, do you believe in magic? The
We're about to.
The magic Egyptians. I was trying to say magician Egyptian, but that didn't work right. So,
Egyptians?
Egyptians?
Yeah.
Egyptians.
Oh gosh, yeah. Now that sounds like a little old lady. I'm having conniptions.
But yeah, so we're back on Mystery Babylon. No, yep, okay. It says Osiris, and I was like, wait a minute, that's next time.
Yes.
So Egyptian magic. And as normal, I do just a little bit, but don't know a hell of a lot about what's going on. But I've enjoyed this Mystery Babylon. We went from penises to, I forgot what, secret
Obelists.
societies. Yeah, globalist. Yeah. To now we're to Egyptian magic. And I think this one doubles as irrelevant. I mean, we see that there's always been some kind of conflict and some kind of discomfort in that general geopolitical landscape, and that's no more than it is right now. Obviously, we have plenty that's going on in that region and that landscape, and yeah, so maybe learn a little bit about the foundation of it. So
yeah, kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, let's say hello and we'll get right into it. What's up, Gemstone? Hello. Comer, I get an allotted 5-minute window, and I was within my 5-minute window, so
3 minutes. We were good.
Screw your late and gay.
I love your Sally picture. That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Linda, hello.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, Shenny.
Hey.
And HT. And then
hello.
we should be streaming on Rumble. We'll see if it's actually working today. Rumble introduced a couple new things. They introduced the Rumble Studios, which I got to play with Dance Biker Dance the other day.
Okay.
I mean, it's got some. They have some work to do. Let's say that much.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's headed in the correct direction. So
that's what I keep saying about Rumble. It's a really clunky, ugly platform, but it's getting better. And from the minute they went public, it helped hugely. And every time they get another big name on that platform, it grows by leaps and bounds, which means they get money, which means they can fix the stuff that needs fixing. And they've actually been fixing the stuff. You know, a lot of times people will just leave it. Oh, it's serviceable. So, more money to the CEO. But Rumble is actually reinvesting in itself. And you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah. And I thought
there he is. Sup, Jacob?
What's up, Jacob? And Jason J's over here too. So it's, I don't know. It's not StreamYard for one. For two, it's free, so you can't complain too much about that.
Yeah.
So, but it's not good. It's not good. And there's a waiting list for it, so you have to get on the wait list. I've done so.
Okay.
Supposedly Dan said it was about 2.5, 3 weeks from the wait list time. But it's an alternative, and it's something that, we'll give a shot. They've also been doing static RTMP. For those of you who don't know about streaming,
Yes.
when you set up a stream, if I stream to YouTube using StreamYard, the integrated platform, it goes straight to, creates the stream, creates everything on YouTube, and I just input the information right there. Rumble, you have had to create it separately on the Rumble Live website, and then you've had to transfer the Rumble Live information with your RTMP and streaming password back to StreamYard. And it's annoying. It's not like it's a labor-intensive process, but it's annoying.
It's a hassle.
It is. And half time I forget about it, and half time I'm doing it as I'm hitting the intro, that kind of stuff. So
I just learned how to do it this past weekend, so yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of annoying. So they supposedly have static RTMPs now. I still have not identified how to make that work, but apparently. So
Hi, tits.
are you heading news of Slestax? I don't even know what the hell that is. Now I'm gonna Google it because know me.
Oh, it's laughing. You be ready.
Oh, that's cool. Are you talking about the reptilian humanoids?
Oh.
So that's the first thing that came up. But if that's not it, I'm gonna pretend like it is, because that's awesome.
Yeah, and that totally plays in with what we're talking about today.
Yeah, for sure. We were getting there.
Yeah.
Oh,
see, we're giving you the history, bub.
They're like the movie people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like original Star Trek type bad guys.
Yeah. So I'd hang out with
We'll
them
get there
for sure.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so that's kind of the lay of the land, what's going on right now. Other than that, like I said, we're continuing on a series. This is week 3. If you're new to how we do it, every other week we do part of the Mystery Babylon, which is 40. I screw it up every time. 43. 43 episodes of his kind of podcast from the 90s, and he talks about different things that kind of tie into each other. The off weeks we're doing stuff like JFK or Freemasons, or I think Freemasons was actually last week, or 2 weeks ago.
No, we did Waco last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So that kind of stuff. So
hi, love. Hi, bad. Or Dazzler. I hate we need to get rid of that bad. You are not bad, and we got to get rid of it. That's a Nandor and I plan.
Also in the just out of behind the scenes news, I played Hayden in Madden football, and he didn't know what a down was, but he played me tougher than Brian did the other night. So I beat him 40-6. So
that's that's much better than Brian.
Yeah, so Brian's terrible. And great respect for Ozzy, who I think is going to try to get better and actually beat me at my own game, which is kind of terrifying. But
yes.
But yeah,
and he can do that.
He can. He puts effort into many things. So
yes.
But yeah, with that being said, what the fuck? Wait a minute.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there we go.
I'm here. I'm fed. And my balls are full of piss. Let's go. I'm ready. Yeah, you've got your anatomy a little bit wrong, but let's do this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah, Jason. And by the way, for those who don't know, I was the happiest they've been probably in a very long time. My Lions are moving on. Read an article today that it's bringing about 30 million in economic benefit to the city of Detroit. So that's cool too.
Yeah.
Just hosting a second playoff game. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty stoked about that too. So people staying here and that kind of shit. So
And you don't have to worry about the organized thieving rings and organized riot people like we did in Vancouver last. They knew it was coming, so they could plan in advance. Who knew that these guys would ever get a second? So they don't have the
true.
time to organize.
Huh. That's awesome.
Good side, bad side, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll
That's
watch another
awesome.
game, and I'm excited about it. So
yeah, I don't know what that feels like, having a team that will actually has a real shot.
Yeah, I didn't know until Sunday. So
yeah,
we'll ride that high. But fuck yeah, deal. But yeah, it's I'm excited about it. But anyways, enough digressing on the topic.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and get started.
I love this opening.
Yeah, I gotta start skipping the opening. It's the only thing I ever get claimed for, and I forget about it every week.
Oh, really?
Yep, just the opening, like 15 seconds. I mean, it's not a big deal. I just mute it. But...
Yeah. Bobby, no, pee is not stored in the balls. It's stored in your bladder, hon.
Good evening, folks, and welcome once again to the Hour of the Time. I'm your host, William Cooper. We continue where we left off last Friday night, February the 12th. And I want to quickly reiterate that what you're going to hear does not necessarily reflect my beliefs or my religion or the beliefs of the staff or management of WWCR Worldwide Christian Radio. What you are hearing, folks, is for the first time in history, the public revelation of the origin, the history, the dogma, and the identity of those who operate in secret to bring about a worldwide totalitarian socialist government. They are known to Christians as Mystery Babylon. It is an ancient religion. Now get a pencil and paper ready, because if you did not tape last Friday night's broadcast, or if you did not hear it, you must order it. You must order it. You have to have this information. And if you have any possible way to tape tonight's broadcast, either tape it or order this tape. You can order studio quality tapes from us, and I will give you that information later in this broadcast. Make sure, as always, that you have pencil and paper or pen and paper by your side at all times. You will want to write down important portions of this broadcast, and you certainly will want to get our address and phone number and the price of the tapes. Those of you who are smart enough to know what is transpiring here know that these are historic broadcasts, and by making these broadcasts, I have sealed my fate. The sun enters each heavenly sign or house of the zodiac in what is called the 30th degree, and leaves at the 33rd degree. Thus, God's Son is said by the ancients to begin his ministry at 30 and dies at 33. A Freemason is not told the truth of the object of his worship until he attains the 30th degree. And this is why the highest degree in Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, for no one can rise higher than the sun. When viewing the shimmering rays of sunlight on a body of water at dawn or sunset, one can still see today how God's Son walks on water. It was well understood by ancient man that our weather was caused and controlled by the sun. It was a simple fact that God's Son had the power to control storms at will. The ancient Egyptians taught that he did this as he rested in his heavenly boat while crossing the sky. Thus, we read that God's Son quieted the tempest or great storm on the sea while in his boat. Which boat? The boat of Isis. Ra, the sun god, also known as Osiris, in the bark of millions of years in which he traversed the heavens, he wears on his head and accompanies a vast sun disk symbolizing his powers as Lord of the heavens. The boat formed of a serpent bears his eye, and the god is seated on a pedestal representing Mayet, the divine order. Folks, when we stop to realize that every single king, prince, lord, governor, dictator, despotic ruler, civil and social institution, national flag, coat of arms, educational institution, military medal, award, organizational insignia, medallion, badge, emblem, citation, trophy, banner, pendant, political standard, or ensign, agency of government or religion uses the sun as a primary symbol, then it can truly be said in the mystery school that God's Son is, quote, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, unquote. Here we note another cleverly disguised part of.
Okay, I was going to try and let it run for a second, but there's just too much there. One, I wanted to make, I wanted to make mention that isn't it terrible that when you tell the truth or what you perceive as the truth, you're a target. You're a target. And I think that's just sad, and that's we don't have enough control to not be targets to a corrupt system that's trying to do things to harm people. And I don't know, but
whether you believe all this or not, there are people in the world that do. And they base their entire life around these beliefs, and they're dangerous. So, yeah. They don't want their secrets out.
It's insane to think that, I mean, it's insane to think that there is such an embedded group in our governments or our structure. It even often goes above governments, and it's just, I don't know. There's a lot there. Also, with the whole Egyptian thing, it's always been there's something there that we don't get, or don't understand, or that I'm not privy to understanding or knowing what the hell is going on there. But there's something there that we're missing. There's something there that's in my opinion hidden. And of course you have Egyptian authorities that don't allow anybody into the tombs. They, and it seems like there's this bigger, even if you just take that to the beginning of the degree, there seems to be this concerted effort that nobody's big enough to or important enough to go exhume these tombs or look inside these tombs, and we have no idea what's there or what's part of these things. And I was thought that was weird, because we have this inherent exploration that becomes us because of being humans, and to be like, nope, we're not. We're gonna
Nope, we're okay on that one.
Yeah,
nope.
We're just gonna leave these big giant ass buildings and just not touch them. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
It's the same with the ocean. We never touch it. We'd rather go up and than go down. And to me, that just makes me wonder why.
Right. Exactly. Like there's so much like that. And so I've always been I've always been interested in the Egyptian part because I don't believe the official narrative, and that's mostly mostly as far as my curiosity goes. Like I don't have any direct like I don't care about the pharaoh or any of that stuff. Like that's not what makes me tick with that. It's the fact that there's no way in hell, and I've seen it in person. I've seen them, like I've talked about before, to individuals. Um, I'm a big museum guy and big hangout and do that kind of thing guy. Um, and I've seen them. I saw them with Hayden when we went to
Yes.
Houston. Like there was no way that even with today's technology we could make something that clean and that pristine. Let alone with the tools from
What
thousands of
they
years
had.
ago. So
Yeah.
it's insane, and don't
Have
believe
you
in radar
seen
technology.
the fact that sorry, Bobby interrupted my train of thought. Something's in my Discord. Now I'm going, oh gosh, what did I do?
Oh shit.
Yeah, what did you send me? But no, they found pyramids. Like pyramids are not just in Egypt, right? You
Mhm.
know that? They're
Yeah.
found all around the world.
Yeah.
And they're actually starting to realize that they look like circuit chips, like tiny little for computer
Huh.
type circuits. Yeah. So at least to my mind, from what I've seen, it's more and more likely that they were some form of um, communication grid or computer, information grid. Um, and that means that they must have had a lot more knowledge of stuff than we do, because they can do with, stone what we're
Right.
doing, with our computers now. But they were able
Mhm.
to do it, way back then. So that doesn't necessarily lead me to believe that aliens came down and advanced the Egyptian race. I'm not there, but
Okay.
there's definitely knowledge that was had that was lost. I mean, if you look at Babylon itself, the greatest city um, of any time, and the hanging gardens and the just the way it was built and organized, it's beautiful. But there's no way they could have done that with what we've been told they had.
Mhm.
There's just no way.
Right. Right. And I mean, there's just so many questions. And again, with the amount of money that we spend on research and stuff like that, to be like, nah, it's cool. We're just gonna leave this whole entire subsection, this whole entire group, this whole entire period of history. We're just good. We're good with that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It used to fly because it was so far back that it's hard to find evidence. So it was hard
yeah,
to know. But that's not the case. Not
yeah.
anymore.
I don't know. It's insane. It's insane, and how we don't have more interest or more of that human spirit where we want to know more about it. It's beyond me. So
I think a part of why Egypt is still so mysterious is because when, like in the early 1910s and 20s, when that was the thing to do for the rich people, let's go
yeah.
out and let's go dig in Egypt and let's find all this stuff. And I think that forced the Egyptian population to really want to hold back what was left.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably part of it. But there is definitely knowledge that they had that we don't have anymore.
Mhm.
And I think in the long run, that's what the Mystery Babylon. They're not going to show you how to do these magical things in this series, but overall, you see just how much power your mind has, and just how much you can do using your mind if you're willing to put the time and effort in to it's like any other discipline, right? You've got to study and work out and exercise it. But there's a lot of things that the Egyptians knew that the Nazis rediscovered and were playing around with. And some of that leaked into our NASA, well, your NASA.
Yeah.
So what we call magic isn't necessarily magic. It's just a different power that was harnessed that we don't know about.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Well,
I think
interesting.
of it like that. It's like it's like electricity or something. It's another power source that we've lost connection to.
Okay. That's an interesting way of looking at it. So, yeah, I don't know. And Comer, all the shit that's in private collections and never seen by the public is triggering.
Mhm.
It's kind of all right, I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me in trouble. It's kind of like, I wonder if part of the reason why it was so important to get rid of a secret or a certain painter is because he might have been a little bit too interested in what was going on, and you know, so
I never thought of that.
I always well, I always think it's interesting when they eliminate people that potentially had some interest in something they didn't want them poking around on. So
I keep thinking Jim Carrey. He was in there. He was an up and comer. He was making a name for himself. Then he made huge, and then he disappeared. And now when you do see him, they portray him as some crazy guy, off his rocker. I think he was introduced to the mysteries. He didn't like what he saw, and that's what happens. Well, that's the best thing that can happen to you if you don't like what you see. It's interesting. You can look at Hollywood and tell by people's careers almost exactly when they get shown the mysteries or introduced to the mysteries. And you can tell whether or not they accept it by whether or not they get huge later. John Voight.
Right.
John Voight is a brilliant actor, way better than his daughter ever will be. And he just so happened to just out of nowhere, he was excommunicated from Hollywood, wasn't acting anymore, wasn't doing anything. And he's a very devout Christian, very conservative. And I think they introduced him to the mysteries and he said, fuck no.
Yeah.
And then he just disappeared.
Now, so who's and then we'll probably move on from that just so, because
in Minecraft, yes.
Talk. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, of course. But so there's who is the gatekeeper? Who's the individual that gets to be the gatekeeper?
Yeah. I would love to know that.
Because there's this, and I've tried to explain this to people that are less versed or are like, nah, you're full of shit, like blah blah blah. There is that we know. So there's the names that we know of, the Rothschilds, the Soros, blah blah blah. But there's an echelon above. There's a level above them that we have no idea who the hell they are, and that's evident by the way that certain things are betrayed or broken down or so who is that next guy? Who's that next? Are they?
I don't know, but they can push around the royal families of the world.
Right. There has to be a consolidated amount of power, like an insane amount of power that's there. And I don't know. I don't know what to think of it from that perspective. But
this again, it won't give you the names, but by going all the way back in history to the beginning of time and tracking through all these different mystery religions, it gives you're able to see how whoever those people at the very top actually pull in the strings is. You can see how they got to that position.
Yeah,
because it's rising through the religions and the power systems. So I have no idea who they really are, but I would love to meet the person who can, walk up to some guy and tell him something, and then have him turn around and start poking the future king of England in the chest, saying, "You're not going to do that. You're going to do this."
Yeah.
Like, we know who that guy was. He was I can't remember his name, but he was famous. Turns out he was a pedophile. Dazzler, you'll know it. You'll know who I'm talking about. He was poking Prince Charles in the chest.
Way to
telling him
call out
something.
Dazzler knowing pedophiles. I mean, PDF files. Damn
No,
it. You got
he's
me to say it.
English. He's
Fuck.
British. He's British. That's all. He's British.
You
and
not
he
only
knows the
said
name.
it. You not only said it, but then got me to say it. Yes. Anyways, PDF files.
Yes.
So anyways, yeah. Does he know who you're talking about?
Oh, there we go. No,
Chandler?
Gemstone got it. Rothschild. It was Rothschild that poked him in the chest. I was thinking it was the other guy. But yeah, no, he would know. He's got the picture. So it was a Rothschild.
DuPont really did it in 1960s. Offer some its staff Teflon laced cigarettes as human experiment. Damn.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah, Monsanto. All of those big companies, chemical companies, the medicine, the pharmacy. Yes, it was a weird thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
And for the record, I don't want to meet this individual because that means that I'm A, a fucking dirtbag and not happy with myself, or B, that I'm probably about to die. So either one of those, I would prefer not to meet the person in charge. But
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I get your point, but yeah. I don't know. There's got to be something. But anyways, we'll keep going because we'll be here all night if not. So.
Yeah.
Shit. And Digger wants to try and get through 2 of these next week. We'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, we'll have to.
We're 32 minutes in and 5 minutes into the video. Good luck.
The whole, according to the mystery school, misunderstood and plagiarized story, for they believe that Christianity is a perversion of the mysteries, and that's why they hate Christians. In the ancient world, months were counted according to the phases of the moon. They were called the lunar months on the lunar calendar. Now, since Scorpio, the scorpion, is the astrological sign starting in late October, the first month of autumn, it follows that October, the scorpion, with his deadly backbiting tail, betrays the sun in autumn, leading directly to his death in winter, and is known as Judas. And that's where the October surprise comes from. And I'm telling you right now that Barbara Honegger was a plant. And the 30 pieces of silver were, as the North American Indians would say, 30 moons of silver needed for the month to betray the sun and cause his unhappy death. In relation to this, another interesting point, factually speaking, when a person is bitten by a deadly scorpion, the wound appears to be or looks like 2 human lips. The ancients called this the kiss of death. This is why we read that Judas, or October, gives God's son the kiss, leading to his death in winter. And that is the original October surprise. There was an October surprise in France on Friday, October the 13th in the year 1307. Look it up, but in case you don't, I will cover it extensively later. The next point to be made requires first a little background. Christians have always referred to God as the Father. But viewing God as a father didn't start here. It goes back far into the ancient world. The reason is, according to the mystery religion, our planet was always viewed as our Mother Earth, our Mother Nature, and that's where all this Mother Earth and Earth Goddess comes from in the New Age movement. And since rain, the life-bringing fluid, or the semen, falling from heaven, impregnated and brought life to Mother Earth. It was therefore believed that our Father was in heaven. All this life-bringing intercourse between God the Father and Mother Earth would be after a proper marriage ceremony at a spring wedding. In the area today called Israel, anciently called, quote, the land of Canaan, unquote, the sexual fertility rites of spring were celebrated each year in what was called...
I saw this comment. Guess what else Jim Carrey did in 2015? He went on Jimmy Kimmel and made an ass out of Illuminati signs. I think that they do that intentionally sometimes. I think they hide in plain sight their intentions and what they're actually about. And I think that's almost maybe done by design. It's like, nah, he's just bashing on the Illuminati. And it could be because he's saying I had enough, but it also could well be that they're trying to distract you and say,
Mhm.
you know, no, I don't know. What's your thought on that? Because
Well, I don't know. Like I said, in my opinion, my theory of the Jim Carrey thing is yeah, they introduced him to the mysteries, and it was he didn't want anything to do with it, or maybe it was too much for him to handle. But one way or another, they made sure that he's out of sight now, right? He's basically disappeared. And when he does show up, he looks like an insane person. I think he was just starting a breakdown when he did that episode on Kimmel. I think he was just realizing how deep and dark the stuff really got. And I think he was having a bit of a breakdown. He was freaking out about it. So
Okay.
throwing all the signs and everything, I think he was throwing them out there. I think he was probably trying to see what response he would get overall. I think he was wanting to see, not necessarily from fans, but he wanted to see what reaction he would get from the people in his circles, in my opinion. Because he was
Almost-
freaking out, but it's also something you can't just go up and talk to your buddy about. Like, oh, by the way, all of a sudden they've introduced me to the mysteries and this is what's going on. You can't do that. You die doing that. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
he had no one to talk to, and he didn't know who was on what side. So in my opinion, he was throwing the signs out there just to get a reaction, to see
Okay.
who was where on the playing field.
It's interesting. Huh. So kind of baiting them in to see what kind of reprimand would come, or what kind of
Yeah. Or who's involved? Who else is involved? Right? Because if he throws a bunch of signs out, anyone who is involved can now come up to him knowing that he knows. Right?
True. Okay.
So I think that's why a lot of times you're going to get that one eye picture from a lot of famous people. You'll find them in doing that at least once. I think it's their way of letting others know that they're now in the crowd. They're in the group.
Huh.
Yeah. You'll find a lot of celebrities, a lot of musicians with that one eye or with the triangle.
Who was it that said symbolism will be their downfall? I know it was a conspiracy dude. Was it AJ?
I don't know, but it sounds, I mean, that's exactly it. It's the symbolism that's going to show everyone. And they're starting to show their hand now. Like people say, they're not even hiding what the real plan is, or they said the real part out loud. They said the quiet part out loud. Well, they're so sure of their position that they don't need to hide stuff as much. And I think the symbolism is just more of that. It's just a way they could show off to each other that they were in that group. They have that power.
Okay.
And it's a good way to rub it in your nose if all the fans are suddenly going like this, that's
right.
That's pretty the peons have no idea what they're doing, and so that's kind of how I think they work it. Yes, exactly. Beyonce and Jay-Z were blatant, huge with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I see. I just know me personally, I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. I would just bait people intentionally with it. Be like, I have no, like, I would do it just to throw people off, basically. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
Trump
Like,
and the Q stuff?
yes, exactly. Trump and the Q stuff.
Yeah.
100%
Why not?
Trump and the Q stuff. Um, so, and that's just who I am. Like, I would
Mhm.
do it just to get a response out of people. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So
Yeah.
interesting.
That's
That's
yeah.
Comer's fault, though.
Yeah. Let's just make sure if we're all God's children, what makes Jesus so special? Aha! Because he was the one that did it without sinning. That's why he's special. It is. It's all over pop culture. Exactly like they're trolling us, Bobby. That's exactly it. I think it's a way for them to identify each other. At least in the celebrity world. The
Wait, so they're
Masons
being
have their
Bobby?
secret handshakes and stuff. No, but I do think they're trolling all of us,
Yeah, I
like
know, being
Bobby.
like
Yeah.
Bobby. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They're,
Yeah. I
maybe.
misspoke, but yeah, now you've got me thinking.
I don't know. I think it's all incredibly interesting, and unfortunately, it's another thing that we're probably realistically never gonna know. Nobody,
Mhm.
like, it's never gonna could, but I find it hard to believe that it's ever gonna be specifically confirmed. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Time will tell. So, all right, we're continuing.
Okay.
Uh, wait. My grandfather was a rank mason, and I really didn't ask a lot. Evans Masonic Bible. That's really cool. Huh.
Ooh, that would be cool. I would love
Yeah.
to see that. I'm really become interested of late of all the different Bibles and all the different books and why they were in some Bibles but not other Bibles and how it changes entire religions. It's crazy. I don't know. I guess I was naive, but I kind of figured there was just like maybe 3 or 4 Bibles in the world for different religions, right? Um,
Mhm.
I didn't realize there was. I mean, there's an Ethiopian Bible, which
For
I
real?
just learned about thanks to Cheese, um, and it's yeah, it's different. It's crazy. So, seeing a Masonic Bible, that would be interesting to see their take on the Bible stories
Hmm.
because it really does change.
Hey, Alex. What's up, buddy? I don't think I said hi to you.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah. All right, we'll
Okay.
keep going.
Quote, the marriage feast of Canaan, unquote. And so the New Testament story was Mother Earth asked God's Son to draw water from the sea for the grapes to make fine wine for the wedding feast. And this marriage feast story is over 5,000 years old, 3,000 years before the New Testament story. And the mystery schools believe it is just one more case of pious plagiarism. Now it is at this point we need to go back to the ancient Egyptians to further understand this story. Though all of the essential pieces of the Christian story were long in existence before Egypt, the only thing different, folks, is the names were changed to protect the innocent. It was with the coming of the pharaohs that the story was finally codified and became religious dogma. Though the story varied in some details from place to place in Egypt, the essence was always the same. God's Son, spelled S-U-N, our risen Savior, was the light of the world who gave his life for us. Now remember, this is according to the belief of the mystery religion of Babylon. From the Egyptian records, we learned that the newborn son Horus was given the title the Logos, which means the Word. Egyptians further said the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and since we enjoy only one Son in heaven, he was said to be the only begotten of the Father. The Word was lost, and that story is told in the Osirian cycle of Isis, Osiris, and the child Horus. And you will learn that the symbol of the word today is the obelisk, the monolith, the stone. It is also called the lost word of Freemasonry. And I will explain the meaning of all of those things later. Another interesting point not to be missed concerning Horus, later in Egyptian history, he was given a second name, Isos, or Isis, meaning holder of the light. Still later, in Roman Latin, I became interchangeable with J. So from Isis, we get Jesus. All of this can be read by anyone in a public library, if you so desire. In ancient Egypt, it was said that if you wanted to follow the life of God's Son and thereby live in the light of God's Word, or Logos, one would first have to leave his old ways of life to follow the sun, face to the east. But before beginning this new life in the Word, one must die to the old way of life and be born again. George Bush, when asked at a press conference by a reporter if he was a Christian, Mr. Bush said this, quote, "If you're asking if I have been born again, the answer is yes," unquote. Your first birth was out of the water your mother formed you in. Because her water broke and your new life began. Rebirth is symbolized by coming out of total immersion in water, or baptism, or being born again. These points here mentioned are just some of hundreds, if not thousands, of direct connections that can be made between the Judaic-Christian Bible story and the far more ancient original story. The purpose for drawing your attention to this literary plagiarism, according to the Mystery School, this is what they believe, is best stated by Alfred North Whitehead, who said, quote, "No lie can live forever," unquote. They hate Christians, they hate Christianity, and the first object is to destroy the Christian church and Christians, to wipe them off the face of the earth. If you are a Christian, you are in the greatest danger that you can even imagine at this moment as the New World Order takes shape around you. Egyptologist Gerald Massey said, quote, "They must find it difficult, those who have taken authority as the truth rather than truth as the authority," unquote. And now for a few thoughts on the Old Testament Word of God, according, again, to the mystery religion. Remember, I am revealing the secrets of the mystery religion of Babylon during this broadcast. At Malachi 4:2, the God of heaven is described as the Son of righteousness with healing in his wings, and it is spelled S-U-N. The Son with healing in his wings. Then in the New Testament, at Matthew 23, verse 37, and Luke 13, verse 34, we see God's Son wanting to gather all under, quote, his wings, unquote. This is most appropriate, for in Egypt, the Son was always pictured with his wings, and you see a disc with wings. Now, all these pitiful little twits running around calling themselves ufologists, and Zachariah Sitchin, who has perverted the interpretation of the ancient writings, claims that this means that the Egyptians,
That was awesome,
whenever they drew these or put these hieroglyphics on in their writings, were indicating that UFOs came from other planets, and nothing can be farther from the truth. But this is part of the mystery Babylon deception, trying to convince the people of the earth that we are threatened by some other species from some other planet, so that they can more quickly bring about their new world order, their one world totalitarian socialist government. Don't fall for it, folks. I have found that most of these people involved with the so-called UFO research who are trying to convince you of this are Freemasons, most of them 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite. And evidently they are attempting to do their best toward the furtherance of the great work in order to attain the 33rd degree, which can only be attained by meritorious work to bring about the completion of the great work, which is the destruction of the church, the state, and the enslavement of the mob, which is all of us. I hope you hear me out there. In the most ancient Egyptian understanding of things, mankind was called the sheep of God. And the great orb of day, God's sun, was the overseer, or in the exact words from the ancient Egyptian manuscript, the good shepherd. And we are his flock. All ancient kings thought of their people as sheep to be pastured with themselves as the shepherd. Sheep are ideal followers, you see, for they do not think for themselves, but will blindly follow anyone without question. And that's why I call most people sheeple. It's truly admirable behavior for animals, but it is very, very unwise for humans. Sheep were born to be fleeced and have the wool pulled over their eyes and are eventually always led to the slaughter. Lastly, they end up as a tasty meal eaten by their masters, and their skin or their hide or their wool is worn as an apron around a Freemason's waist. How about that? Keep all of the foregoing in mind, folks. We read again from the Old Testament book of Psalms. At Psalms chapter 23, verse 4, we read that old, dog-eared, tired, exhausted, and equally misunderstood chestnut, according to the mystery schools, used by every man of the cloth to put the sheep to sleep. We quote it here, quote, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me," unquote. Thy rod and thy staff? Here in the book of Psalms, the Old Testament God is pictured with his rod and staff. The rod here mentioned is the king's rod of discipline, and the staff is the shepherd's staff or crook. Now, for the correct understanding of this old verse, any good library book on the Egyptian religion will tell you that the ancient pharaohs were said to be ruling for God's Son, spelled S-U-N, on earth. He was called King of the Kingdom and the Great Shepherd of his sheep. In the hands of the Pharaoh god, whose arms formed the sign of the cross on his chest, were placed the royal symbols of heavenly power: the rod, which was a flail, and the staff. The rod was used to beat those who were disobedient, and the staff with the crook was used to herd the sheep. Incidentally, Jesus is pictured not only with his shepherd's staff, but at Revelations 12, verse 5, and Revelation 19, verse 15, is also said to rule with a rod of iron. And I have pictures here of all of this. You can't see it, but you can go to the library and find this stuff. Our research has been thorough, and we have managed to place members of CAGI within the Masonic lodges, and we have verified everything that we are telling you here now. We have infiltrated the lodge. In Jeremiah chapter 18, verse 2 through 6, in Isaiah chapter 64, verse 8, we see the God of the Old Testament portrayed in a different way. Here, he is said to be the great potter who fashions man on a potter's wheel. Almighty God, the great potter. In Jeremiah chapter 18, let me read to you what it says. The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. Then I went down to the potter's house, and behold, he wrought a work on the wheels. And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again, another vessel, as seemed good to the potter to make it. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter? Saith the Lord. Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand, O house of Israel. In Isaiah chapter 64, But now, O Lord, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou our potter, and we are all the work of thy hand. The potter story was Egyptian. 1,000 years before it was written by the writers of the Bible. And I have a picture here taken from Egyptian hieroglyphics, and you can find this in a book called The African Belief in God. It shows the hieroglyphics taken right off of the Egyptian temples, and it shows the god Nemu fashioning the body of one of the Ptolemies on his potter's wheel. And here's another picture, the god Nemu fashioning a man upon a potter's table, and behind him stands Thoth, marking his span of life on a staff. In Egypt, God's risen son was Horus. At 12 noon, he became the Most High. In this exalted position, he became the mediator between God and man. His name was Amun-Ra. Ra equals ray of the sun. His shepherds on earth were called priests of Amun. They would direct their prayers to the invisible God, the Father, through his mediator, Amun-Ra. And God's Son was the great Amun with his rays. In the New Testament, he, the Son, is still called at 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 20, and Revelations chapter 1, verse 7, and Revelations chapter 3, verse 14, the Amen. At the end of prayers in the temples of Egypt, they would say, Amen. How does that grab you? Now look at the word Israel. Isis, R-A, Ra, El, God. It is the androgynous God, and it's been in front of your eyes all the time. All the time, folks. Anyone who goes to any library and does the research that we have done can reveal that the religion of Mystery Babylon is exactly as I have stated it last Friday night and during this broadcast, and will continue to state it because there is a lot more, folks. We have, in fact, not even yet begun. For this is the only ancient portion, the beginning of the ancient worship of Baal, or Baal as some pronounce it. Ba was the sun, El means God. And that was the beginning of the end of our civilization as we know it if we do not wake up now. I firmly believe, and I live my life according to this, that I owe my first allegiance to my God and Jesus Christ. My second allegiance I owe to the Constitution of the United States of America, and my third allegiance to my family. And the reason my allegiance is that in that order is because God endowed man with unalienable rights. The Constitution protects those rights, and the family is thus able to survive.
Anyone play Morrowind? Nope. Vivek is the most androgynous god. Huh. There was interesting because I've always known that one of our Lions wide receivers, his name is Amun-Ra or Amun-Ra,
Mhm.
And I knew it meant something. I just didn't know what. So it was interesting to hear that portion of it too,
Mhm.
and how we're still using these things that we don't know what the hell they are. Like
Nope.
we don't know what these words mean or these things mean, but uh, yeah, it's I don't know. It's odd. Amon-Ra is and his brother's name is Equinemius. So, which I'm
Wow.
sure has some kind of Amon-Ra and Equinemius. So,
Hmm.
uh, yeah. So,
That's an interesting one.
yeah, it is. But um, yeah, I don't know what the hell it means, but it's cool to see his take on what it means. So,
Hmm.
um,
I like how they were able to break down Israel
mhm,
into Isis and Ra and God. That was
yeah,
kind of interesting. Um, Again, I don't know necessarily that this is what all of Christianity believes, but this is um, what they believe in the mystery Babylon, in the old ancient religions.
mhm,
This is like he was saying. One of the other gods was Baal. Um, there are other religions that were coming up at the same time as God's people were. So finding finding alternate definitions for
mhm,
words is um, common, but it's also interesting to see how they've changed it and how they've used it. Um, People have always changed the definition of words. It wasn't just COVID where all of a sudden we're changing what things mean. Um, and it's interesting that they could take Israel, the people, um,
mhm,
and give it their gods, give it meaning in their gods' religion. Um,
yeah,
it's really interesting to see how it's the same with Catholicism when they came up. A lot of what they still believe in and rituals that they do to this day were simply absorbed from the different pagan religions in order to bring more pagans into their religion.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah, and like Comer Comer earlier said, very Western way of looking at it. Well,
mhm,
we tend to do that. Uh, we tend to be very Western centric or Western oriented. I forgot where it's at. It's up a little bit, but um, yeah, very Western take on everything. Um,
mhm.
we're incredibly Western centric here, at least in the United States. I don't know how it is, in Nordic
Yeah,
countries since you're closer to, what's going on. But yeah, we're very we're uh
this is how we were treated or how we were taught, right?
right.
We get a very Western sanitized version of history.
Hmm.
Um, and then, yeah, it's interesting when you get to see other people's versions of history. Like the first time I saw, I can't remember what the documentary was, but it was a documentary on World War II and Hitler from Germany's perspective, and it
Okay.
was eye opening. Like when they first started, they didn't start out because they wanted to kill the Jews and blah blah blah. They started out because they were trying to keep the World Bank keep the World Bank's hands out of their country.
Right.
That's how it started. And I would never have known that just by what we were taught in
Yeah.
history. I mean, we were taught that he was insane and evil and tried to kill everyone. But that's
Hmm.
not actually true. It's insane.
Well, and then the victors write history, and
Hmm.
that's always part of it. And then, um, yeah, a lot of it gets whitewashed. Then you have the Marxism angle of things where they're trying to change things and dilute and blah blah blah. So there's really a lot of forces at play to get something to a point where it is.
Hmm.
It's not just like an overnight thing. There's constant kind of forces manipulating words and what they mean and how we say them and
Yep.
who they're associated with and and the histories of things. It's really fascinating, and it would be cool, in my opinion, to see somebody do kind of the transition of things. I was trying not to use the word transition for obvious reasons, but obviously the transition of things and how they've gone from one thing down the line to become what they are today, and because I think more often than not you would find something that is completely foreign to what was put into it, and then what's the credibility of information that we have today if everything is so remarkably different from what we're being told it is? So
Yeah.
No, it's all interesting. So it's all interesting. Oh, StreamYard is not giving me comments now. There we go.
Yes, druids were vicious, Josh. They were. They were not the tree huggers that they would like you to believe they were. Or at least they're not the tree huggers and nice people that I was told they were.
Ramaswamy was named after gay Mormon god. True facts. Allegedly. Love you, Bobby, but he's looking for a new gig. I don't want his new gig being Sue Mighty.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Vivek gave up his candidacy last night. He stepped down to running for president. So
threw all his weight to Trump. So
yep, endorsed Donald Trump. So
yep, that's interesting. I never thought he wanted it this year anyway.
No,
he's working towards 2028, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. But why the fuck do Egyptians apparently not know their own history? Doesn't make sense to me. I think you have an actual point there. I don't think you're actually trolling us right now, and I feel bad because I don't have an answer because I don't understand what you're asking. Sorry, Bobby. Clarify. I mentioned the movie The Prophecy before. Kind of thing interests you. It's really good. Yeah, and I'm terrible at watching movies. I never have that much time, but it's certainly on the list, and maybe somebody will force me to watch it in Discord one night. So, but yeah, I'm horrific at watching movies. But why do we talk about Egyptians like they aren't there? I'm so confused. I think that that's a good question, actually.
I think part of it is their society, their civilization is so different from a Western one.
Yeah.
We tend to stay closed off from each other just because of the differences. I would really like to know what Egyptians know of their history and what they were taught, and see what the differences are.
Well, I didn't, for example, I didn't know this until I met this guy, but so I have a guy that heritage is Lebanese, and we were talking about stars one day, and we were arguing because he's an astrophysicist, and we were arguing about what a star was called, and I wasn't understanding what he was saying because I'm like, no, that's I don't remember which one, but I'm like, no, that's not it. It's this, like, and we were talking past each other because apparently the Lebanese and that kind of Muslim culture or Middle Eastern culture have completely different names for their naming conventions for stars and
So do
heavenly
the French.
bodies. Yeah, I just assumed that everybody had kind of gravitated towards what we, it's that American exceptionalism thing again.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, you're gonna call it what I feel like it should be called because that was
Just
not my
because.
intention. Yeah, just because we're the big kids
when
on the
I
block and deal with it.
when I went when you move into junior high, French immersion kids start learning English as well. And it
Okay.
was insane, all the different terminology that you have to learn, just from French to English, like all of the major star systems.
Hmm.
There's some are similar, but like the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper are actually the Big Bear and the Little Bear.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and oh, there was another one that always threw me. Now I can't remember it. But they're so totally different in some cases that it's very easy to be talking about the same thing but arguing because you don't realize you're talking about the same thing.
Right. And ours is more like, I guess ours is more based on the zodiac and more based on kind of what early people saw or thought they represented. Theirs are actually based on, especially the Lebanese, are based on like historical representations of this person did this, and
Oh.
like it's more of an honor system, a naming convention of an honor system rather than just, well, shit, we thought it was two fish in a 69 pose, so that's what we called it, as Pisces. So yeah, so there's actual, there's some
That's
actual
interesting.
stuff to it. There's more almost substance, or more kind of honoring the people that had some contribution or were significant in their history, as opposed to just the American way of just being like, I think it's going to
Yeah.
be so on and so forth. So, but yeah,
That is
see,
interesting.
yeah. So I think that and I think that's one of the things that as Comer says, the Western world, and especially the American world, does a disservice to kind of being so arrogant about, nope, it's our way and screw everybody else, because other cultures and other people have interesting ways of dealing with stuff. So
Yeah.
our history was written on paper. There's etched in fucking stone.
Yep.
And sorry, I'm trying to. And here
Are
comes
you
our
writing
arrogant white
again?
ass. No, I'm not typing. I'm just reading through chats. But here comes our arrogant white asses with, your history was this. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Um.
Mhm.
Why did they
Yes.
make the Sphinx? I have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, cool.
Yes, they do walk awesomely, Shenny.
Again, I think that's an American translation of something. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Hell, maybe that's just me being concerned that I'm too American. But we the exceptionalism does get in our way sometimes, because we're kind of like, oh, fuck you. Like, we don't really care what your experience is, because because this is who we are, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Xcomer, thanks for the super, buddy.
Thanks,
Don't
man.
U.S. economy literally depend on war? How many are employed? Not to mention how much money turns around it, which of course require an enemy when labels get thrown around. Yes.
Yes.
We are and have been for a very long time a predominant wartime economy.
Mhm.
I would say mostly to our detriment at this point, because we keep provoking others and they don't want to play anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the writing is on the wall, not to get too political, but I think the writing might be on the wall, and that if fighting the US probably isn't the genius play right now, it's letting the US fail, because there's no partner to dance anymore, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're seeing geopolitically right now. So be interesting to see if that prophecy comes true. So But
Yeah.
geez,
Hi,
we're
Mandy.
so far off. So far off
Oh,
topic.
jeez. Yes. Comer's right, though. There are 2 Sphinx. Yeah.
Are there? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
I was surprised to learn that too.
Super. Yeah, and then I don't know. I'm not going to get any further in the weeds. Hey, what's up, Mandy? Sorry.
And that's
Yeah.
what
Fuck,
this is
fuck
for.
tracks.
Yeah. No, that's what this is for. Is it's giving us an idea of what another side thinks and how another side looks at things. So
Well-
that's what I found so interesting about this. This is a whole different perspective on stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we were raised being Western. We were raised in a Christian world, right? Whether you're religious or not, you know, there's everything revolves around that 10 commandments sort of ideal. But this is completely different. This is
right.
Yeah.
And we all have bias, and we all have a system, like you said, that works for us, and a system that we grew up on, and that kind of makes the basis for what we see and what we consume and what we project. But I think the good thing is knowing that you have that bias and being able to work past that and being like, maybe, I don't know, maybe we should look just at least scratch the surface of a different point of view.
Yeah.
So I didn't know there were 2 either. So that's interesting. But I have to look at that after we're done too. But all right. Back on the tracks.
Yes.
For now. Gee, we're like a CSX train tonight. Damn it.
And be protected and thrive. And the family is the basic unit of civilization. Period. And I further believe that any man or woman without principles that they are ready and willing to die for at any given moment that they are called upon to do it are already dead and are of no use or consequence to anyone, not even themselves. Understand what I just said. I have to take a short break, folks. Don't go away. I'll be right back after this short pause. Isis was the patroness of the magical arts among the Egyptians. The use to which magic should be put is revealed in the
Comer, thanks again for the super, buddy. Maybe some diversity is needed to have to see the Eastern take on this. Will you diversity hire someone mighty? I will not. I will certainly not diversity hire just to diversity hire. I don't have any objection to somebody coming to explain it to me. And if somebody has the other point of view, I have zero issue with somebody coming on to join us at any point. That would have a different perspective or a different total basis for understanding. So yeah, but no diversity hires here. We don't do that shit. Like, but if somebody has something to contribute, yeah,
diversity is our power.
Fuck diversity. So, right.
Sirian cycle where Isis applies the most potent of her charms and invocations to accomplish the resurrection of Osiris. In other words, the redemption of the human soul. That the gods of Egypt were elements of a profound magical system and possessed a significance far different from that advanced by modern Egyptologists is certain. The various deities of the Nile Valley were elements of an elaborate magical metaphysical system, a kind of ceremonial Kabbalah. This cannot be denied. But even when impressed with the reality of this fact, the modern Egyptologist still balks. Supposing, he asks, that the Egyptians did possess an elaborate metaphysical doctrine, of what value is its rediscovery in an age when the natural has been demonstrated to be mediocre and the supernatural non-existent? Even if these extinct persons whose mummies clutter up our museums were the custodians of some mysterious lore, we have simply outgrown it. Let the dead past bury its dead, they say. We prefer to live in an era of enlightenment, an enlightenment which you would blight by asking us to espouse the superstitions of our remote ancestors. These so-called superstitions, however, it is interesting to note, die hard. In fact, they do not die at all, but insinuate themselves as a discordant note in our matter-of-fact existences. McCall's magazine published some time ago an article by Edgar Wallace entitled The Curse of Amun-Ra, dealing with the phenomena attendant upon the opening of the tomb of the pharaoh Tutankhamun. After vividly describing the curse of Amun-Ra, the author sums up the effect of this curse upon those who came in contact with the tomb or its contents. His statements are in substance as follows. At the time the tomb was opened, the party present at the excavations included the Earl of Carnarvon, Howard Carter and his secretary, Dick Bethel, M. Benedict, the French archaeologist, and M. Pasanova. Of these, only one, Howard Carter, remains alive. Now, that was at the time of the article. Colonel Aubrey Herbert, Carnarvon's half-brother, and Evelyn White, who also entered the tomb, were both dead within a year, one by suicide. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, the radiologist who took an X-ray of the mummy, was also dead within 12 months. And Professor Lafleur of McGill University, the first American scientist to examine the death chamber, did not leave Luxor alive. Wolf Joel visited the tomb and was dead within a year. Jay Gould was taken ill within the tomb and died. Attendants whose duty it was to look after the exhibit from the tomb in the Cairo Museum also sickened and died. 7 French authors and journalists visited the tomb, and 6 were dead within 2 years. When they unveiled Tutankhamun, they found a mark upon his face, and by a strange coincidence, the mark left upon the face of Lord Carnarvon, which presumably caused his death, was in exactly the same spot and of similar appearance. Nor does this list include the numerous native workmen who perished from the curse. Only recently, another name was added to the long list associated with the tragedy. Arthur Weigall, after a long and mysterious illness, similar to that defined in the curse, is the most recent victim. The eminent authority on antiquities, Dr. Martis, said, quote, "The Egyptians for 7,000 years possessed the secret of surrounding their mummies with some dynamic force of which we have only the faintest idea," unquote.
Okay, so I'm interested to hear your contention. So are these people that are protecting the pyramid and the mysteries, or are these... Because when you have so many people die randomly for, under mysterious circumstances like that, you have to think there's some kind of involvement from some kind of third party. Like, let's take the Clintons, for example. Like, you don't have that many people die around you, in mysterious circumstances like that, unless there's some intervening force. So is the intervening force the mystery of the pyramid, or or is it the people upholding, protecting those mysteries? Is it the actual curse, I guess, or is it the people upholding the curse to,
Well, in some cases, like Josh is saying here, powders and poisons left in the tombs. A lot of that, the gases that are stuck in that tomb, and when they open it up, it can be deadly. I think when it comes to like this sort of thing, like Tutankhamun, I think more likely than not they were using poisons.
Okay.
There's also just as an aside, they found seeds in ancient tombs that were then able to be planted and grown. They found cheese. They found wine. They found all sorts of stuff that survived this long. So who knows what kind of molds are coming off of the seeds and whatnot as well. But I think in this case, a lot of times they did poison the tomb and the body itself just as a protection. Egyptians believed in reincarnation. So when this world ends, they come back, which is why they were buried with all their, their favorite pets and foods and this and that. So they would have something when the new life started. And I think they poisoned these tombs to protect their people so that when the new world started, they would still have all their stuff. Right?
Okay.
Because there was a lot of them that were plundered. Still to this day are being plundered, and the stuff is just gone. So from their perspective, when that person wakes up in the new world, all the stuff they were supposed to be buried with is gone. Right. So I think for people like Tutankhamun, so powerful, they were able to afford to do things like poisons and, different things to keep people away.
Gotcha. And I guess to a point that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems odd that, and then that gets in a whole rabbit hole of modern medicine, and is it where it needs to be, or is it just, are we shortcomings there? Blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't know. So there's that portion of it. Also, I wanted to address something. Linda, Hillary is a warm embrace of sunshine. She's
a wonderful woman.
She's like my mother, and I just love to be wrapped up in her arms, and not the death kind. So I would never say that it was Hillary. I'm trying to take the heat off for like 5 minutes, okay? Oh. God, I hope so. I hope so.
We can only try.
Just theory, I believe as well. Yeah. Reincarnation in the sense of individual's soul being reborn into a new body was not a prominent aspect of Egyptian belief.
Huh. Oh, it wasn't. Interesting.
I don't know that that's my nose, but
something's growing, and that's all that matters.
Anyways, moving on. Wasn't an Egyptian belief. I thought yeah. Huh.
You've given me a new rabbit hole. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I knew that they prepared them for death, prepared them for, the journey and all the different seals and all that kind of stuff. So, or all the different, like there's a river and blah, blah, blah. I need to look into that more because it's always been interesting. I just haven't ever looked deeper, but I know they prepared them for a journey to the afterlife, but yeah, I didn't know. I don't know. So it was more about maintain the afterlife. It's a bit more complex than born again. Huh. Okay. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Afterlife for the underworld.
Yeah, the river Styx.
Yeah. So maybe something I should look into a little bit more. Because it's always been interesting, for sure. So. All right, we'll continue on.
Over the entrance to the tomb of Tutankhamun was a magical tablet inscribed with strange hieroglyphics. Dr. Martis named this tablet the Stela of Malediction, for it pronounced a fearful curse upon any sacrilegious person who might violate the sanctuary of the deified head. And it was called the Stele. The words upon the stela were as follows: O ye beings from above, O ye beings from below, phantoms riding the breaths of men, ye of the crossroads and of the great highways, wanderers beneath the shade of night, and ye from the abysses of the west on the fringes of the twilight, dwellers in the caverns of obscurity, who rouse terrors and shuddering, and ye walkers by night, whom I will not name, friends of the moon, and ye intangible inhabitants of the world of night, O people, O denizens of the tombs, all of you approach and be my witnesses and my respondents. Let the hand raised against my form be withered. Let them be destroyed who attack my name, my foundation, my effigies, the images like unto me. Unquote. Can modern Egyptologists and scientists in all branches and departments view lightly the culture of the Egyptians if their researches into the forces of nature gave them such strange power and enabled them to master natural laws of which modern learning has no knowledge or conception? Did you know that Lars Hansen was reared in the Stell Group? Did you know that a very famous talk show host who covers for the Masons all the time was a member? Also was heavily involved with the Communist Party? Did you know these things? Do you ever bother to check, you who listen to these people and believe them blindly? You, the sheeple of the world? Circumstances so extraordinary as the curse of King Tutankhamun simply overtax the theory of mere coincidence, folks. Nor is this an isolated case, as those will remember who read the accounts of the Cleopatra mummy curse many years ago. It will also be noted that in this age of moral certitudes, the story of the Tutankhamun curse had no sooner been broadcast than several of our large museums were deluged by gifts of Egyptian antiquities from private individuals who no longer desired to own them. And these persons, most of them well educated, as modern education goes, were not superstitious. They were just careful. The following article appeared in an English newspaper in 1923. Quote, "The death of Lord Carnarvon has been followed by a panic among collectors of Egyptian antiquities. All over the country, people are sending their treasures to the British Museum, anxious to get rid of them because of the superstition that Lord Carnarvon was killed by the Ka, or double of the soul of Tutankhamun. These fears are, it is hardly necessary to state, absolutely groundless." Unquote. It's also hardly necessary, folks, to add that the journalist fails to give his authority for the last sentence. The newspaper article continues. Quote, "An avalanche of parcels containing mummies, shriveled hands and feet, porcelain and wooden statuettes, and other relics from the ancient tombs descended this week on the British Museum. Fear inspires these gifts, brought by every post, the belief that a dead king's curse is potent for evil after thousands of years won thousands of adherents on the day when Lord Carnarvon became ill. Few of the parcels received at the museum bear the sender's name. The owners, in their eagerness to wash their hands of the accursed things, have tried to keep their identity secret. The British Museum is a godsend to the superstitious. It offers a means of shifting the liability to expert shoulders. The museum authorities are used to such liabilities, having harbored the coffin lid of the powerful priestess of Amun-Ra for years. But they are not at all grateful for the present flood of gifts. The museum weathered a similar storm some years ago, when the story of the curse of the priestess of Amun-Ra became public. Sufficient scare gifts were received to fill a large showcase. A long chain of fatalities has been attributed to the curse of the priestess. Men who have made fun of the superstitious have died within the year. Another story is that a photographer took pictures of the priestess and placed the plates in his safe. When he went to look at them some weeks later, the glass had become a thin brown powder." Unquote. Now let us consider the rational explanations, so-called adduced by science in disposing of the superstition of the king's curse. Dr. Frederick H. Cowles, FRGS, famous British scientist. declared in an interview years ago that Lord Carnarvon and a number of workmen engaged in excavation met their deaths as the result of a poisonous and almost invisible dust placed there purposely by the wily priests to bring destruction upon the violators of the dead. Quote, this poisonous dust, unquote, says Dr. Coles, quote, analysis of which has baffled scientists, was scattered about the tomb. Lord Carnarvon was not the only one to note its fatal property, as a number of workmen engaged in the excavation were likewise stricken. Most of these died a lingering death, but others, greatly impaired in health, have recovered, unquote. There is nothing in the learned doctor's explanation, however, to account for the fact that Howard Carter did not chance to breathe any of the noxious vapors, although he was more steadily engaged in the work of excavation than even Lord Carnarvon. It's also questioned how much science actually knows about this mysterious dust which defies analysis, for if it cannot be analyzed, how can it be either identified with certainty or even proved poisonous? The term poisonous dust is evidently the charitable term that covers a multitude of scientific shortcomings. Several years later, there was another revelation that they were stricken with some virus that inhabits ancient tombs. And who knows what the real story is? Though sorcery has been accorded no official recognition by modern science, there is nevertheless a certain quasi-official acceptance of the reality of occult phenomena throughout the civilized world. In a newspaper interview, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle illustrates the widespread recognition of the idea that the Egyptians knew how to surround their dead with mysterious guardian agencies which throughout the centuries visited their vengeance upon grave robbers, scientific or otherwise. In discussing with the correspondent of the Daily Express the death of a certain Mr. Fletcher, who had felt the wrath of Egypt's dead, Conan Doyle declared that the tragedy was caused by Egyptian elementals guarding a female mummy because another student of Egyptology, a Mr. Robinson, had begun an investigation of the stories of the mummy's malevolence. Quote, I warned Mr. Robinson, he says, against concerning himself with the mummy at the British Museum. He persisted, and his death followed, unquote. You may wonder where all this is going, but it becomes clear when you understand that the Egyptians inherited the religion of Babylon. So are we to presume that this single phase of ceremonial magic constituted the entire repertoire of the Egyptian thaumaturgists? You see, if they could manifest such surprising power, is it not probable that they possessed a knowledge of other natural hidden forces, forces as yet unknown to the modern public world, which is possibly of inestimable value, which may still be contained within what is called the secrets of the ages, which is guarded by the modern mystery school, which is still the ancient mystery school brought forward through the ages? We are assured in the authorized version, and note I say authorized version of Holy Writ, that the magicians of Egypt changed their staves or rods into serpents in the presence of Pharaoh. The modern scientist does not live who can duplicate that phenomena. Yet if he happens to be a good Christian, he is in somewhat of a dilemma. We can pass over all the desperate efforts to disprove the magical powers of the Egyptians as arising not from immature knowledge, but from a desperate prejudice. You see, magic is too ancient and too universal to be explained away by mirrors, wires, and hinges. In Egypt, we are dealing unquestionably with true manifestations of occult power. The learned author of Art Magic presents what may be accepted as a reasonable, accurate estimation of the priest magicians of the old Egyptian mysteries. Quote, they were highly educated scientific men. They understood the nature of the lodestone, the virtues of mineral and animal magnetism, which together with the force of psychological impression constituted a large portion of their theurgic practices. They perfectly understood the art of reading the innermost secrets of the soul, of impressing the susceptible imagination by enchantment and fascination, of sending their own spirits forth from the body, which many modern metaphysical teachers claim that they can do, as clairvoyants under the action of powerful will. In fact, they were masters of the art now known as mesmerism, clairvoyance, electrobiology, etc. They also realized the virtues of magnets, gums, herbs, drugs, and fumigations, and employed music to admirable effect. And no one since has been able to perfect or even come close to their art of embalming the dead. The highly gifted Egyptologist Lenormant acknowledges Egyptian magic as an essential part of their religious philosophy. James Bonwick, FRGS, thus summarizes the powers possessed by Egyptian adepts. Quote, Egyptian mystics could levitate, walk the air, handle fire, live underwater, sustain great pressure, harmlessly suffer mutilation, read the past, foretell the future, make themselves invisible, and cure disease, unquote. Now, I have no idea whether to believe that or not, but that is what this expert says. Now, if you doubt the power of magic wielded by the priests of Mystery Babylon, listen to this. For we can compare James Bonwick's account with some other news from Tibet, another land long famous for magic. Dr. Alexander Cannon, a distinguished scientist, a doctor of medicine, a celebrated psychiatrist, a master of arts, and a fellow of the Royal Geographic Society, brought back a strange record from the land of the Lamas. He claimed he saw a tree withered by a pointed finger, a dead man raised to life, the Grand Lama surrounded by a blue aura 3 inches thick, and a human being lifted into the air by pure mental effort. The London County Council called upon Dr. Cannon to resign his post as the head of a noted institution for his remarks, but later, strangely enough, after further inquiry, withdrew the demand. It would seem, folks, that the age of miracles, or at least magic, is not dead. You know, Plato, and I wrote this in my book.
I had me muted.
I was wondering if you.
So he's, I don't know. I'm going to go back and listen to that like 3 minutes again, because so he's advocating that magic and the whole miracle thing is. So I can see the argument or the justification for somebody saying that it exists, and I know that religion uses that as a commonality quite frequently, but I don't think that people, if I'm going to buy that premise and buy that portion of it, I don't think that people independently have the abilities to do things that are magical or that are that kind of thing. Like I don't think the individual person has that ability to affect an outcome, and I don't know. So I don't, or is it only the enlightened people? Like there has to be some kind of cutoff to it, and maybe that's what, I don't know. So what's your anything?
Well,
any thoughts?
We only use a very small portion of our brain.
Right.
Firstly, there is a lot of stuff that when we look at it, just looks like normal. But if you took someone from, 500 years ago and show them the same thing, they're going to think it's magic. So
Yeah.
magic might just be a misnomer.
Okay.
It's more of a it's more of an ability or a power to do something that the large population doesn't think is possible. So it's not that it's magic, it's just something that isn't known. That knowledge isn't shared with the group at large, with the world at large. So I'm trying to find an example. Like with the polio vaccine, you basically scrape the infected blister, and then you put some of that scraping on uninfected people, and they get slightly sick, but then they're immune to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's common sense. That's science to us, right? We understand how that works. But at that time, this is magic, right?
Yeah.
Some guy is scratching something that is putrid and awful, and is going to kill someone. But if he scratches a healthy person with that stuff, all of a sudden that person doesn't die from that illness. So at that time, that's magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the understanding of the theory behind it. So I'm more than willing to accept and believe that there were things done that we would consider magic, but was just, everyday occurrence. They had a lot of knowledge that we don't have, and they were talking about elementals and stuff. There is so much in the world, so many plants, for example, that have health benefits.
Right.
They're just, it might seem magical to some, but there really is a theory behind it. We just don't know it.
Okay. And that makes sense, because I see magic as deception and magic as kind of tricking, because that's what the common version of like street magic is. You're deceiving people, you're tricking people to take another one. I think it was absolute magic that half the world's population got a shot that did nothing recently. Oh wait, that's a different kind of magic. But yeah, so deception.
Yeah, and magic isn't that isn't really the full concept of magic. It's just what we like Comer was saying before. It's a westernized understanding of magic. But magic is anything that you cannot understand and that you cannot explain.
Okay.
So it's like when he was talking about biblically, the Babylonian priests were able to take their staff and turn it into snakes. Like, oh shoot, I can't remember which one of the apostles was. I think it was Paul, but Paul does a lot of stuff. But either which way, the magicians of the time were able to do the same thing, and the difference was only that. I've lost my thought now.
Amazing says Moses, but
it was Moses. Okay, thank you. Yes, it was. But the ability to do that seemed like magic to the masses, because the masses can't do that. But that doesn't mean it was actually magic. It was just some form of power that they were able to harness.
Okay.
That the bulk of us don't know about. Yes, it was. Okay.
The controls at the Earth's flat space isn't real. Rockets are gay for 3 blessings. They'll come from the something's curse. I think that's on the previous one, but
Sarcommangus.
Yeah.
We're talking about mummifying you.
oh, okay, gotcha.
And, yeah, what we'll use and how we will do it, and what kind of curse we're going to put over your body so that people won't mess with you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was kind of terrified by that host thing, so I just skipped that entire conversation. I know that is magic. I didn't think we could go 7 times in a row, but we did. So that's always been my thing, is that so I believe, my personal belief is that there's a simulation theory. So we're a simulated reality, and some people have the keys to the castle. Some people can affect change on this planet, but those are very few and far between. And some of them are more well known, and some could fit that category of these people that we're referencing to, that we don't know their names. I truly think that Mr. Musk is one of those people that has basically has the cheat codes to the universe, that and maybe that's why he's such a hated person, is because he was given that information, or acquired that information to cheat the universe, but used it relatively for good, not for nefarious, hellish purposes. And just to be clear, I don't think he's some upstanding citizen. I think he's probably more in the mold of some of the bad guys on this planet, just not as far out there, and maybe a little bit more humble and grounded. So yeah, that's kind of my. But anyways, the English words magic, mage, and magician come from the Latin term magus, through Greek, no idea, which is from the Old Persian magus. Huh. Okay. I thought the same thing for a minute. I think highly weird makes a lot of these words conceal what they really mean. Well, I think that's again, throw you off the scent kind of thing.
But yeah, like Bobby's saying, some of the things that he's able to do with a computer, to me, seem like magic. Like I cannot even fathom how you would affect this change. But to Bobby, he knows the theory, he knows the background. So he's able to do these things, like block odds or what have you. And I think that's just it. It was people not in the know calling it magic because they couldn't explain it. It was unexplainable. So
oh shit. So Pharaoh and Moses and everybody were hanging out at the same time. See, I truly know very little about religion. I didn't know they were all kind of kicking it in the same time period. So I thought religion came before or after Egypt. Not
no.
Okay.
Babylon happened long before Egypt.
Huh. Okay. Computers are magic. The actual circuitry of computers, I still don't understand. Like I know how they work. I know how to build them. They just still don't make a ton of sense. So,
and that's the same.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that was just it. It's the same with the pyramids looking like little microchips. They were able to do things and affect things to happen that we consider magic because we don't know how to do it. But knowing, for a person who knows how to do it, it's going to be, relatively simple. It just depends on your perspective.
Right. Anyone read The Great and Secret Show by Clive Barker? I have not.
Read a few of his. I'm looking at a couple of his right now, but I've never heard of that one.
Creighton's
It's on my
secret
list
show.
now.
It was a serpent that he had made stiff, and then he stopped playing with it. God damn it, Dazzer. Even when every time I'm like, oh shit, Dazzer's got something great to say here, and it's still a penis joke. So Pharaoh's like saying king, I think. Huh.
Yeah. Pharaoh was the leader.
I'm not gonna tell you, Mandy. Maybe I did.
I've walked across the Stargate a few times.
It's electricity, so it's pushing things. They're pushing. I know, and it's logic gates, and fucking. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, let's send this very small pulse through, and it's gonna bring up those videos that Bobby and I like so well. Just getting from A to B is sometimes odd. I don't know. Is it? Are aliens magic? Are UFOs magic?
I think they're just things that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Magic is a really great word to use for anything that we can't explain.
Yeah, it's like in the astrophysics world where or the astronomy astrophysics world where it's just dark energy, dark matter. Can you explain to me what the hell that means? No.
No, but
It's all encompassing.
That's that.
Right. It's gotta be. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know anything else, so it's gotta be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go to the Sinai Mountain and find out. Okay, let's go. Let's go, Dazzler. The key to the universe is defining what magic is. Could be.
Mm-hmm.
Or making it so there's no magic anymore. Because we are enlightened and know everything.
And we're able to harness the power.
Yeah. All right, we're going to finish this 5 minutes.
Okay.
Book was an initiate of Mystery Babylon and was actually initiated in the Great Pyramid in Egypt, where he lay in the sarcophagus for 3 days and 3 nights. He entered as a mortal man and, according to his writings, emerged as a god, given or imparted knowledge which he was to guard and keep. Remember, they called themselves the guardians of the secrets of the ages. From the writings of Proclus and Iamblichus, we can gain a considerable insight into the principles of Egyptian magic. To the old philosophers, even Pythagoras and Plato, magic was no mystery. According to Proclus, the initiated priests so fully understood the mutual sympathy between the visible and invisible worlds that they were able to change the course of action and focus divine virtues upon inferior natures. And according to Plato, the highest form of magic consisted in the divine worship of the gods, plural. And according to Iamblichus, the priests, through sacerdotal theurgy, were able to ascend from a material state of unconsciousness to a realization of the universal essence, thus coming to an understanding of universal purpose by which the performance of high feats of magic became possible. Thousands of years later, Aleister Crowley claimed the same thing.
I know, amazing.
Now, this is significant.
Drives me up the wall.
It's proper at this point to establish a clear line of demarcation between magic and sorcery. You see, the term magic was not associated with occult jugglery by the Egyptians, but arose from a profound understanding of natural law. Magic, said General Albert Pike, and you will be hearing an awful lot of General Albert Pike during this series of shows. Magic, says General Albert Pike, is the exact and absolute science of nature and its laws. Unquote. From the knowledge of this absolute science arises occult science. Occult merely means hidden, folks. From experience in occult science, in turn, arises the theurgic art. For as surely as man has adapted his physical universe to his purposes, so surely the adept of the mystery school adapts the metaphysical universe to his purposes. To acknowledge that the Egyptians possessed the power of adapting mystical forces to physical ends is to bestow upon them proficiency in the most perfect and difficult of the arts, according to the mystery religion of Babylon. Yet to deny this ability on the part of the Egyptian priests is to deny the evident, and we must resign ourselves to the undeniable fact that they possessed a form of learning which has not been conferred upon this present race, at least publicly. Men like Aleister Crowley have proven that it has been passed down through the ages and is kept and practiced secretly by those who call themselves the guardians of the secrets of the ages. Now, folks, we are in desperate need of money to help pay for airtime. If you like this show, if you want it to stay on the air, then please reach down in your pockets, contribute the most that you can possibly afford. Make your checks out to WWCR, not to me. This is going straight to the radio station to pay for airtime. Not one single penny of it goes in my pocket, or anybody else's for that matter. It goes to the radio station. Make them out to WWCR. If you would like a list of tapes or available materials, or would like an information packet, or learn how
I
to
think
join
it's just
CAGI, the
advertised for
Citizens
the rest.
Agency for
Yeah.
Joint Intelligence, then send your checks.
All right.
I love
Oh.
that he's talking about sending checks. Oh my goodness. Do
I
people
know.
do that anymore? Do they even exist?
Not anymore, but I
I've
mean,
got a
30
checking
years ago.
account, but it doesn't
Right.
have checks.
Right. Also, magic had a better reputation, so they came up with the word science, but they are the same damn thing. Yeah, pretty much.
At the end of the day, yeah. Yeah, it's something that is unknown.
Yeah. Mysterious.
Yeah. And they had a lot of knowledge that we no longer have. Or at least the general populace doesn't have. So
Yeah, and it's where the hell did it go? And why did we lose it?
well, I think that's where we get back to the people who pull the strings of the people we see and hear about.
Yeah.
This has been going on for as long as the world has been, and people somewhere along the way realized the power that could be had with it and the control that could be had with it, and that's why it became secrets. That's why it went underground, sort of thing. Egypt's not even real. Nothing's real but the pod. Come on.
So here's a question. Why is it not advantageous for everybody to know the secrets of everything? Like, why wouldn't you want more people to be in the know, be able to affect change in a positive way, and be able to have an impact that benefits everyone? Like, it seems like it's so restricted unnecessarily. And we'd be better off if we could just, be more enlightened and know these secrets of the universe and all that kind of thing. So,
well, I think the reason it has been is it's all about power and control, and sin is in this world.
Yeah,
we are inherently sinful beings, and in that sinfulness comes selfishness and a desire for power and control. So I'm not surprised that knowledge like this would be hidden away from the masses, because how else do you control those masses?
it's true, but I'm tired of gatekeepers. I think that
I know.
we should be in control of what the hell's going on in our existence, and I'm really getting exhausted with gatekeepers, because they don't know. I mean, they don't know. They don't know what's best for me, or what I can handle, or what I'm capable of, or any of those things. So it's really getting it's really getting to the point where it's I mean, it's past annoying. It's frustrating that there are so many gatekeepers. So to information. Wait, fuck that. Fuck that.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's people are always going to want to have power and control over others, and that's all this is. Whether we call it magic or knowledge or information, whatever you call it, that knowledge of that stuff gives you an ability over others, and it's just yes, neither of us are depressed, both of us are fine, brakes work, car's great, all the electricals in the houses have been checked, we're good.
I mean, well, fuck you, Digger. Flexible, hetero flexible. Anyways, shit, Bobby just clipped that. Anyways,
yeah, he did.
And Linda, maybe we do know the secrets, we just don't believe them. Well, there's so much information out there. Like, we are privy to so much information nowadays that it would be hard to discern what is and isn't. You could literally put it right in front of us, and many of us wouldn't have any clue as to what was truthful and what was not. And I think that's unfortunate as well. So, yeah. But
yeah, the big thing is they want to keep the masses ignorant, and you know, hiding this sort of knowledge is just a good way to go about it. I think magic does exist in this world. I don't think it is the way that we define it. I think it's just simply knowledge that isn't known by the group at large.
Okay.
So, like, electricity was totally magic until we could understand how it was formed, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that leads to a bunch of other questions. When does it leave the realm of magic? Because there's still a lot of people that can't explain how electricity is made, or how it's transported, or how it's defined. So is it the masses, or a good enough group to explain it, or is it still magic to somebody who doesn't know how it works? I think that's curious.
I would still consider it magic.
Okay.
I have no idea how it works. I just know that I stick something into a hole in the wall, and all of a sudden these things work. You know, I don't know how the electricity was made. I don't know how it's packaged and how it's sent. I have no idea. So from that perspective, yeah, it's totally magic. There's no way I could replicate it on my own.
2 cans, cups on a string can be magical. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that. Pretty sure a tribe in the Amazon would look at it as magic. Yeah, or that island that they don't allow people onto because they're way back in whereverness. Yeah, I guess that's flexible. You're getting really old now, Mighty. Thanks, Dazzer. Not as old as you, babe.
Exactly, Dazzer. And I'm still flexible. I got years on this one, and I'm still flexible.
So, but yeah, so no, I think it's an interesting topic. We're gonna look for one that caught my interest if we can find the video, unless you already did.
I haven't found it. I'm gonna have to go digging through the stuff. I know it's talked about in his book.
Okay.
But I'm not sure what the episode would be. So we'll go digging.
Okay. That was on my birthday, 34 years before I was born.
Oh.
That date. So.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah. No, it's cool though.
Interesting.
Cool
Yeah.
topic. So
But yeah,
Uh,
I'll go digging.
yeah, I'll
Cool.
look for it too. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that next week's is still up in the air. We're gonna try and find an episode on something I found when I was looking through stuff. And then from there, we'll be back to 2 weeks from now. We'll be back to this one. We're going to try and do a double. God, we'll see if that works.
We will have to maybe keep our comments to briefly, like just between the episodes, maybe take notes, and then we can discuss the notes at the end.
We could potentially do that, or just be done sometime Friday.
Yeah.
One way or the other. But so 2 Tuesdays when we get back to Mystery Babylon, we will be on Isis and Osiris. And that's actually a two-parter. That's why we're talking about it like that. So we'll get into that. And that's what's coming up. As far as what's coming up in my realm of the world, Rocket Garden Media will have a busy day of spaceflight tomorrow. There is a Long March 7 from the Chinese space program that launches at 9 a.m. Eastern. There's a crewed mission Axiom 3 from SpaceX that will launch from the Cape at 4:30. Electron will have a 1 a.m. launch of an Electron rocket from New Zealand, and then that kind of wraps it up for tomorrow. So there'll be 3 separate space flights, 1 manned, 1 Chinese, and 1 from New Zealand. So it'll be an interesting day with some variety tomorrow. So go check them out too. Maybe if I can copy the damn link. There we go. I'm on the page and I still can't get it. So there you go. Do you have anything coming up?
No, I do. I do have plans. I am going to start reading his book, Cooper's book. I think I'll make it Rumble exclusive now that I know how to do that. But I'm going to start reading the book, maybe throughout, hour at a time, because he's got the knowledge. You listen to it on an audiobook. I have listened to it so many times, but there is a lot of information in here and diagrams that you don't get to see.
Yeah.
With the audiobook. So, yeah, I'm going to start reading that and I'll show you the pictures.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Are you going to, do you have a day for it, or are you just kind of playing it by ear?
Not yet. I think I'll probably just start and then, see if people like it. I don't know if live is the way people want, or if maybe recording it in advance. So if you guys have any ideas or opinions, let me know. But it's definitely whether to read it and then upload it as a video or to do it live.
Xcomer says Q Hat book.
What book? And it's this one. It's Behold the Pale Horse. Yes. So I will be reading it. And I don't know if you guys want me to read it to you live, or if you just want me to put out, a chapter at a time or something. Feel free to let me know what you prefer, because I don't really know or care. Either way, just as long as the information gets out there.
And so Rumble link's in there, and then YouTube link's in there. Go follow her on both. Digger's awesome. So, it's I like doing lives. I don't know. Some people don't, but like interacting with the chat, even though sometimes they can be special.
You're very good at swirling, but
that's true. He did say Q Hat, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Q Hat cat book. I
Oh.
don't know.
I thought it was just a miss because the Q and the W are side by side. So
No,
But
he
it-
did. We're just giving XCOMer shit. He corrected
okay.
it. Yeah.
See, there you go. I'm so gullible. Bobby had me thinking that there really was a Q hat book.
But yeah, so definitely go check her out. I certainly will. I'm interested, and they may not know that because I didn't know that, but you have the original copy without all the shit
Yes.
missing, correct? Yeah.
Yes,
So-
there are later editions that have lost what amounts to, I think it's like 7 hours of audiobook time has been
Wow.
cut right out. Yeah, there's a lot of information from the first edition that got lost. So
Yeah. So get the full thing. Go check out Digger.
Yes.
She's great. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for me this evening. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Stay warm because I guess it's getting colder here tomorrow in Michigan. So and I wish you all the best. Until next time, see you soon, Neil.
Good night.